I'm just kidding. Welcome to
the most epic Holly Jolly
Christmas Showdown.
I'm Amanda Figueroa.
And I'm Adriana York, formerly Figueroa.
And we are just two sisters who love Christmas and competition. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. All
right. We are looking at our last movie, and Krampus is coming to town.
I thought I had my glasses on. When I do that.
I know. I was like, I've been fixing these. These are my looser ones, so like they'll go here, and I'm like, so it makes me look like very smart.
I just do it instinctively, and I was like, where is it?
They're gone.
Okay, anyways.
This is our last movie, and Krampus is coming to town, and honestly, thank goodness.
Praise. I loved the first two movies.
Loved the first two.
Last two, not so much.
Not so much. These really made me feel uncomfy.
Yeah. Well, this one we did have to change. It was going to be
Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not accessible to everyone, whereas this one is more accessible to everyone. So we decided to make a quick switch. Again, without knowing what the movie is about.
Yeah. Definitely thought it was going to be something else.
Definitely. And
this is why we have the podcast, because you can never trust a summary.
Never. This is the second time where I've read a summary of a movie and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And then I'm like, at the end of it, like, what did I just watch?
Yeah. Icky, icky, icky.
Yeah. So again, we'll talk more about it in a second. But to get the cheeriness up, let's look at our weekly Christmas cheer.
So for me, I was just recently out of town, and I, like where we were, my husband's family is there, and they've started this new thing of Sunday family dinners. And so it was a lot of fun. Just like, we were there for 2 Sundays, so we were able to join in on 2 family dinners, and it was nice, like something to look forward to at the end of the week. And, you see them, and then enjoy some good food and hang out for a bit. So it was nice.
My weekly Christmas cheer is along the same lines of like food and community and gathering. So my boyfriend and his 2 cousins, they have birthdays around the same time, and due to some like family health issues, they just did all 3 birthdays in one weekend, and they invited our almost entire family, which right now consists of my sister, her husband, and their daughter, my parents, and me. So we do have 3 other brothers, but they're out. And so we were all together in one house, and it was very fun. Definitely Eleni was the hit of the party. Everyone was just so in love with her.
Except for the one that she was in love with, which was the cat.
Blue was terrified of her,
which is so upsetting. She loves cats.
She's a
cat lady.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we don't like being chased like that.
No. At least he was declawed.
Yeah, for sure, because he would have swatted at her.
Absolutely. We were scared that the teeth were gonna come out.
That's how scared he was. Like, arched back, the ruffled spine situation. The hackles.
Up, yeah.
Do they have hackles? Is that what it is? Or is that just a dog thing?
I think it's just a dog thing, because when dogs' hackles go up, that's just like that one
part.
Okay. But cats, it's like their whole body.
But it was really good, and I know my parents had a good time. They were just having a blast with the grandparents, and just everyone. And so it was a good time, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, speaking of which, Sharif and I were talking, and we were like, well, after that, we can invite them to Eleni's party.
Oh, okay. I will let them know.
I was like, it'd be so fun to have them around.
Yeah. They are a fun bunch, and it's really, it's nice for me to know that, like, everyone gets along and can have a good time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just this wholesome feeling of just being like, oh, like everyone's together. There's laughter, there's joy, there's like the coming together of like so many different peoples and backgrounds
and ages.
It was definitely multi-generational.
Absolutely.
And so,
you had an infant, you had a 9-year-old, you had a single teenager, you had kids who were engaged. They're kids, but to me, because they're like 7 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And then you had like a recently married couple, you have a dating couple, you have a couple that's been married for 5 years with a kid, you got like people who've been married for 30 years and all this stuff.
It was just it was definitely like a range of people and experiences, and I just think it was just really fun to see that come together.
And they had chickens.
I'm so excited because we can learn so much from his aunt who has chickens.
Yeah, it really kind of encouraged me for like the run situation outside.
Yeah.
We gotta work on that. Okay, anyways.
A lot of things that we're working on right now.
If you're new here, the way our episodes work is that we go into we start with a fairly detailed summary of the movie. So if you don't like a spoiler, take a pause here, go watch the movie. Today we are looking at Better Watch Out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't mind a little spoiler and kind of want to get a heads up of what the movie's about, then stay tuned. We're going to tell you about it. And then after that, we tell you how we feel about the movie and how we scored it. We use 5 different categories to score the movie, which is plot, main character, aesthetic, overall Christmas cheer, and supporting characters. And then at the end, we finish it off with a cringe factor because there's typically some cringiness in Christmas movies. And then we finish off with a total score, and then we see how it falls in the category and whether or not it will be moving on to playoffs.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a bit of a warning for this movie as well. There are some dark themes that run through this movie. There is underage drinking. There is minors who are doing drugs. There are more graphic situations regarding blood, and just overall the theme of this movie is darker. So if you listen to this podcast and you like to watch these movies with kids, I would highly recommend you not watch this with kids. And if you are a person that gets uneasy by darker themes, again, not to give away right now, we'll talk about it in a second, then maybe this isn't the movie for you. And it's okay if you don't want to watch this movie. This was a hard one. This was hard for me, at least.
Yeah, features a bad mental state.
Yes. A lot of psychosis.
Yes. And just in general, this category is probably not best to watch with children.
Yes.
All of Krampus is coming to town.
Yeah. I mean, Krampus was a little bit better, but it was still scary.
Still scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Violent Night.
No.
The one before this?
No. Definitely not.
This one? No.
This 2016 film opens with the song Joy to the World as an older boy whacks the head off of a freshly made snowman. He is then chased down the street by the girl who built the snowman as she screeches in anger. We then pan over to a teenage girl, Ashley, driving a car and talking with her mom. She is notifying her mom that she'll be babysitting for the learners when she has to brake suddenly for a cat. As she begins to drive away, we see a black car suspiciously follow in her wake. We are then introduced to Luke Lerner, a boy who believes anything the internet says and is in love with Ashley, and is also the boy that she is babysitting. And Garrett, a gamer, a realist, and Luke's friend. Best friend.
Yeah.
That's important. Luke's parents and Garrett head out for the night, leaving Ashley and Luke alone. It is nothing interesting as Ashley immediately goes to call her boyfriend. Luke tries to show off to Ashley by popping a bottle of champagne, but to no avail as he is 12 and she is 17. No chance. During this time, weird things start to happen. Ashley keeps getting phone calls where there's no one on the other line. Mind you, this is a 2016 film, and I realized they had a landline. Not even a house phone, a landline.
No, they had both.
Wow.
House phone and landline.
That's even crazier.
Yeah.
In 2016.
But they were connected. Like, for some reason, my brain can't figure that out. Like, I'm like, a landline and a house phone don't make sense, but
Yeah.
Like they both rang at the same time.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm too young for that to process that.
It was just very interesting. As well as weird phone calls, a pizza that was never ordered gets delivered to the house. While Ashley and Luke are watching a horror movie, we, the audience, see the silhouette of a man in the back door. We also witness Luke try to make a move on Ashley, which leads to Ashley freaking out, which I would too. It was a very aggressive move. He tried to kiss her, and very uncomfortable situation.
Mind you, he is also half a bottle deep in champagne as a 12-year-old.
As a 12-year. Yeah. In the middle of freaking out, Ashley answers another call where the other line says, "I can see you," which, again, further creates more panic in Ashley. Ashley gets even more worried when the creepy Santa that she threw outside in the front door ends up in the back side door, and she is really concerned that there's someone outside, especially when the back patio door is wide open.
Yeah, multiple times it's just wide open.
Yeah. There's also a suspicious knock at the front door, and Ashley is like in like survival mode. She's like, I need to take care of this kid. We need to make sure we're safe. But Luke, trying to be this hero and also a little tipsy, opens the front door, even though Ashley was like, "No, don't open it."
Yeah, he doesn't really listen very well, but it's probably because they are so close in age.
Yeah.
It's hard to like
listen to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's at that annoying preteen age that all boys go through.
And he's also like trying to impress Ashley and be like, I'm a man, and it's like, no. Luke gets tackled by none other than his friend Garrett, who was doing the knocking at the front door. Ashley accuses Garrett of messing with them, but Garrett claims he never did anything that she was accusing him of. He was like, "I wasn't in the backyard. Like, what's going on?" Ashley suspects Garrett was not the only scary visitor that night, as glass shatters from upstairs. Luke and Garrett follow a knife-wielding Ashley upstairs to find a shattered window and a brick. Ashley tries to call 911, but they all come to find that the Wi-Fi and the phone line is disconnected and the signal is jammed in the house. So no cellular, no Wi-Fi, no landline. All gone. Also, Ashley's car tires are slashed, leaving them stranded in this house. Garrett shows them the other side of the brick that says, "You leave, you die." So Garrett naturally runs out the back door, and then we see him fall down, like, off to the side into the bushes, and you hear this, like, whooshing sound that kind of sounds like he got hit with, like, some arrow or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Ashley then grabs Luke, and they begin to hide, and they realize that they are trapped in the house with hooded figures carrying guns. Ashley and Luke try many attempts to hide and somehow fail each time. When backed into Luke's closet with a hooded person in the room, Ashley makes a staggering revelation. It is Garrett, wearing a mask, pretending to be an intruder. Ashley comes to find out that Luke and Garrett staged this whole thing to scare her, an attempt for her to fall in love with Luke? ? Ashley, again, rightfully so, freaks out on Luke and says some very harsh things, but needed to be said. Then she goes to make her way downstairs to call his parents. Luke calls after Ashley. She turns around and he slaps her across the face and she falls down the stairs.
Slaps her with a gun.
Yes.
He said, "Ho-po."
Ashley wakes up to find herself duct taped to a chair and her mouth duct taped shut. We learn that our little Lukey boy is a little psychopath who is very different to the sweet boy we saw at first. His demeanor completely changed. He pushes Ashley to play truth or dare with him and Garrett while wielding a gun. The game doesn't last long, and Ashley struggles to free herself and sees hope when Ricky, her boyfriend, shows up. However, Ricky is led upstairs where Luke eventually knocks him out. Garrett starts to panic but still helps Luke clean up the blood, and poor Ricky is tied up with Ashley. We find out that Luke also set up for Ricky to come to the house. And now Garrett and the audience is starting to realize this plan goes deeper than what was originally proposed.
Yeah, because Garrett originally thought that they were just going to, like, try to help Luke get with Ashley. That's her name, right?
Yeah, Ashley.
It sounded weird coming out. And they were going to, like, give her some solution, some
to knock her out so that she wouldn't remember.
Yeah, that was very unclear as to what was in there. But yeah, Garrett thought that was the end.
Yeah, he thought the whole intruder bit was the end. But Luke had other ideas. And Garrett becomes really unwell when this new revelation comes into play. Psycho Luke continues his plan by inviting her ex over. He ends up making a call to her ex, Jeremy, and gets him to come over. And he, like, knows how far these people are away, too, and is, like, doing a tracking situation. It's very uncomfortable how much Luke knows about Ashley and her boyfriends. Meanwhile, Ashley tries to break free, and Luke tries to knock Ricky's head with a flying paint can and succeeds. Unfortunately, no more Ricky.
That's just where he spirals and loses a little bit of control.
Yeah, he starts to go and dive deeper into his into his psychopathy. Ashley, with the help of a shard of glass, escapes through the backyard, but again gets tripped up and is brought back into the house fully duct taped and now wrapped in lights. Christmas lights. Very festive.
You use Christmas like that.
Yeah. Garrett is having an existential crisis, and Luke is just as crazy as ever. Jeremy, Ashley's ex, comes over, and Luke makes a ploy to frame him for Ricky's death, and he kills Jeremy.
Stages it as a
suicide.
We should have put that as a trigger.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Apologies.
Garrett goes to help free Ashley and kisses her on the cheek. Luke sees and flips out and shoots his best friend dead. Luke then turns his sight on Ashley, and we all know how that went. And Luke goes to stage the whole thing and frames Jeremy for all the murders. All hope seems lost. The cops are about to piece the whole mess together the way Luke wanted, but our girl Ashley pulls through. The free duct tape was used to stop the bleeding, so she made it in just the nick of time. She is put into the ambulance, giving an unkind finger to Luke, who is looking out the window. And that is better watch out.
It's just one of those, like, horror movies that it's like there was gore for no reason, and then it was disturbing. Just like, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have a lot to say about it. So first category.
Plot.
What did you give it?
So this one was actually a higher score for me.
Same.
I gave it 4 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 3 candy canes out of 5.
I thought it was definitely very unique. Yes. The plot was so unexpected from what the blurb of, or the movie summary that they give you before you watch the movie. It was very different from that. So if you were watching or listening to our last episode, that little blurb that I gave you for this movie was basically taken from what I read on it. And so that was not what was happening in this movie at all.
There was a major plot twist. And it's like plot twist after plot twist. And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How does this kid think of all this stuff?
So I definitely was very engaged the whole time, even though I didn't feel really good as the movie progressed.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that the intruders were still going to come after she got tied up. Like, I thought that they were just doing that to be able to do whatever they wanted. And I definitely didn't think that Luke was going to be, like, this psychopath. I thought, like, the intruders were going to come later, and then all of a sudden, like, they were going to have to work together. And then it didn't take that turn at all.
Yeah. No, it didn't at all.
Yeah.
It was an interesting movie for me because at the beginning, like when it was the intruder part, I was like so scared. And then after we realized that Luke was kind of crazy, then that's when I was like really engaged, and I was like, what the heck? Like I was like, no way that's happening. No, that's not gonna happen. What in the world is he doing? So it was like interesting. They do keep your attention even if you want to look away. Even my husband, he was falling asleep, and then I think it was the paint can thing. I woke him up and I was like, go get ready for bed. And then he saw the paint can thing and he was like, and then he couldn't fall asleep. He was like, I have to finish the movie.
Yeah, it definitely was like, as the movie went on, he definitely devolved. And then you just saw how intricate and premeditated all this was. Like, he knew, so he pretended to sleepwalk for some reason. I couldn't remember the reason as to why.
Because Garrett, there's something for Garrett to like help him get out of a situation in his house. He pretended to sleepwalk.
Yeah. And so, like he stole money from his mom's purse, and so then he pretended to sleepwalk so that Garrett didn't get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
And so, like, his mom was doing this thing with, like, a pencil.
This weird thing. So that's how, like, it seemed like he was able to stage it. Like, Jeremy was the killer of it, and, like, the one behind everything, because, like, at the beginning, the mom's giving Ashley the walkthrough, and she's like, make sure he takes his sleeping pill. Do this little pencil trick. And so he like knew all of that, and that's how he was able to stage it, because he was like, oh, I'm supposed to have a sleeping pill and I'm supposed to be asleep in bed.
Yeah. And it's just like he was uncomfortable, but definitely like seeing that devolution and seeing like all the pieces that he used to stage this intruder act was also very crazy. I'm like, this kid, I don't know what he did to research all of this, but he definitely was planning this for a long time.
Yeah. And I was like, why was he like upset that Ashley was graduating and not like with him and she was gonna move away? Like, it was like definitely he suffered from psychosis and then also had like this weird obsession with her. And yeah, but they went about it in a pretty engaging manner.
Yeah. So I will say the plot definitely drew me in, even though I was very uncomfortable with how it went.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will give him credit for that.
I couldn't give it more than 3 because I was just like, ew.
It was very rough.
Next category, main character.
So I have 2 main characters. I have Ashley and Luke.
Same.
Because I just felt like she was the main protagonist, and he was very much the antagonist of this movie. There was no denying that.
Yeah.
So
I gave them 2.5 candy canes out of 5.
I gave him 3 candy canes out of 5.
Yeah. Even though I didn't like Luke, he did his job. Like,
he did do his job.
That was his character. And he did a very good job of us hating him. He did a very good job of, like, being crazy. He's sitting here, like, planting all the evidence to, like, set up Jeremy and make it look like he was the one who did it, and just kind of, like, cleaning up loose ends. And he's literally dancing around doing it. Like, it reminded me, I just watched this movie that came out in theaters called Abigail. It's the vampire girl movie.
Yeah.
And she's like a vampire, and she's just like literally doing ballet all over the place.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
He was just dancing around while like putting a shotgun in a dead guy's hand to get his fingerprints on it, and putting away his dad's gun, and yada yada yada. I was like,
yeah, he definitely played the juvenile psycho very well. Because he
Yeah.
was annoying, because he was a 12-year-old boy with hormones and...
Drunk.
Yeah. And, you know, just a lot of different things. But he was still, like, psychotic, and he thought things through, and it worked out. Like, he thought things through so meticulously, and then his reactions to some things, like why Garrett got shot, was completely an emotional response and a reaction because he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
You know? And so he played that well. I really didn't like him, but that was the whole point.
Yeah. Like, the goal was to not like him. And so they did well with that. And then Ashley, I just didn't like her.
Oh, you didn't like Ashley?
No. I liked her at the end.
Yeah.
And I liked how she, at some points, like, stepped up to be, like, the adult. But also, like, she played 17-year-old well. But it was just annoying.
Yeah.
Like, she was just, like, kiddo. And, like, acting like he's 5 years old.
Yeah.
When he's not. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs whenever the glass broke.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs, and if I scream, then call 911.
Yeah.
And there was just, like, stupid things. And she, she just, I don't know what else she could have done when Luke was being defiant. But, like, when he opens the door, the front door, when Garrett knocks, and he's like, I'm not scared. And then he opens the door, and then, like, when they're hiding, and he's like, we're going to be safe, but I need to go get the gun. And then he runs out, like...
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like she could have done something different, but she didn't. And so I felt like, I was like, okay, she played 17-year-olds very well, but it's not like I necessarily liked her.
See, I felt different about Ashley. I think that I enjoyed her quite a bit, enough to give it 3 candy canes, you know? Not like she was my favorite character, but I definitely felt like as a babysitter, she was, I mean, even when she thought that there was actual intruders, she was on it from the get-go. So she was like, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Okay. I have to protect, like, in her way of a 17-year-old girl, I felt like she was thinking, I have to protect myself and this 12-year-old boy. And so she's like, and now I have 2 12-year-old boys when Garrett shows up, and she's just trying her best.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what it felt like. I thought that she knew how to, she was working really hard to try and distract Luke and Garrett, and she knew them well enough to start those distractions to try and, you know, get out of things. Like, I felt like she never stopped trying.
Yeah. She was a fighter. She was a sassy little thing, too.
She was trying to, like, constantly get out of a situation, and she was constantly thinking. And again, she was a 17-year-old girl, so she reacted in a way that I felt like a 17-year-old girl would react.
Yeah.
But I think she definitely showed her smarts. It wasn't like Luke was the only smart one. Like, I felt like she was constantly trying to counteract him. He just had the upper hand because he knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And he had Garrett on his side, whereas she was, like, tied up most of the movie. It's really hard to get things done when you're tied up most of the movie. So, but she kept going.
Yeah.
So, I thought the dynamic between the two was very good in terms of the storyline.
Yeah. They helped move it along. Next category, aesthetic.
I gave it 1.5 candy canes.
Yeah, I gave it 2 candy canes out of 5.
There wasn't, again, it was kind of like the same thing like with the last movie. They were in the same house. There wasn't anything super exciting about this house. I definitely do think when she first came to the house, you did see like the foyer and the decorations a little bit more, and you're like, wow, that's really pretty. Other than that, it was like,
Yeah. Wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, like you mentioned, the landlines and the house phone was a good touch. I loved her outfit.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, the house felt, like, kind of realistic, but not in, like, a engaging way.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess my thing is, like, how did this kid have so many tools to do this stuff with, and the parents didn't know.
Yeah, like he got his dad's hunting shotgun.
Yeah.
And like he was able to just get into it.
Well, also, like, there's this whole, like, slingshot rig to slingshot the brick to make it seem like it was an intruder. And I'm like, you just, like, he had to set that up in advance. Do those parents, like, not look around their house and, like, why is all this stuff here?
Yeah.
You know? I would have been like, but we'll get into the parents a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, aesthetic is just, it was okay.
Yeah.
Overall Christmas cheer.
Gave it 1 candy cane.
I did as well.
Out of 5. I mean, it wasn't really about Christmas. It was just
set around Christmas time, not even like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. Like,
no.
Just around it.
I did like some of the details though. Even though it was morbid, like Ashley wrapped in Christmas lights.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's a fun.
Unfortunately, a nice touch.
Yeah, a fun touch. I liked the intro song, Joy to the World. Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of like, it wasn't as good as Krampus, but it was kind of like that thing where it's like, here's the song, Joy to the World. And like a kid is whacking the snowman's head off. Yeah. And like the girl's like angry and screeching at him. And it's like.
Yeah. And I can't remember what song it was, but I'm pretty sure it was another Christmas song whenever he was like planting all the evidence and stuff and dancing around.
Yeah.
So it was an okay touch.
But definitely not cheery.
Yeah. I did think, again, morbid, but like whatever. I think it was after he wrapped her up in Christmas lights, then he went and switched into a Christmas sweater. And
then, yeah, he was like listening to the carolers and he's like, oh, you guys are so good. And then like you see like the above shot, because it's a big door, but it has like windows at the top of the door. So the carolers obviously couldn't see in, but like the camera pans up and then you see Ricky and the paint everywhere and his unfortunate scene. And it just really morbid, but also a slightly good touch, but definitely not Christmassy.
Yeah, no. Okay, next category. Supporting characters.
So I definitely said the supporting characters was pretty much everyone else in the movie, which is Garrett, the learners, Ricky, Jeremy.
Yep, I agree.
I gave them 2 candy canes out of 5.
I gave them 2.5 candy canes out of 5.
So, I was really annoyed with Garrett.
Oh, absolutely.
The entire movie. Because you can tell that he hated the way things were going. But he just kept going along with it. Like, even after Ricky's unfortunate incident, is what I'll call it. Like, Ashley's, like, pleading with him through the duct tape. And he's like, don't do this to me right now. Like, and he's just laying on the couch.
Yeah. And then I think Jeremy shows up.
Yeah.
And he's like covering Ashley's mouth. He's like, please be quiet, please be quiet, please be quiet. I think he like knew that he was gonna die, but like
I don't think he knew he was gonna die. He definitely, maybe towards the end, he was like realizing he has a chance of dying. He was just so worried about going to jail. And it's like, dude, before all of this had happened, you wouldn't have gone to jail, or it would have been like a very minor situation. But when you kept letting
Ricky died,
that's when you needed to do something, because like, yeah, no, it's not a good look for you.
Yeah. I felt for him because I felt like he was like realizing who Luke was, and how he was. But I also didn't feel for him because he just sat back.
He did. He was very passive.
Yeah.
The learners, those parents are awful parents. Straight off the bat. Like,
as soon as you're introduced to the mom, I literally put a note. Verbatim. The mom, 4 question marks. Wow. So rude and insulting.
Yeah. She really is. And she was so obsessed with herself. And you know, she was so rude to her husband. And I was like, obviously that dynamic played into the reason why their kid's a psychopath. Yeah. You know? He did not have a healthy upbringing, even though he was in a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood. Nope, that was not the case in terms of his parent dynamic. So I really didn't like them. And
I liked Ricky.
he ended up being my favorite supporting character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I felt like he just played like high school boyfriend really well.
Yeah, and he was
like he just treated Luke like he was a little brat.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And then he was trying to help Ashley so much. Like even at some point he was like, all right, he's like, you need to get out of here and I will deal with this. Like, I will be okay, but you need to get out. And he goes, I just want you to live like your best life. And he was just like, because apparently Ricky was like kind of like a deadbeat in a way, or could be perceived as a deadbeat. And she had all these aspirations and goals in college. And I think he was a little bit older than her too, because he had a roommate. So I definitely think that he wasn't on the same level as Ashley, but he really cared about her and was trying to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sweet. I liked how he treated Luke. It was great.
Yeah, justice for Ricky. That was awful.
Jeremy, he played deadbeat pretty well.
He played deadbeat really well.
But I didn't necessarily like his character, but the actor did a good job.
Yeah, I know why he needed to be there. It was to frame him. Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like very out of the blue.
Very out of the blue, very rushed. Kind of unnecessary, I think. Like, I feel like maybe it's to control, like, the situation. I guess it kind of plays into Luke being, like, a 12-year-old boy and kind of almost, like, planning this stuff out, but also trying to be, like, on the fly at the same time. I don't know. Jeremy, yeah, he was a little rushed in there.
Yeah. So, what's your total for this movie?
11.5 candy canes out of 25.
My total is 11 candy canes out of 25.
So that gives us an average total of 11.25 candy canes out of 25. But we still have our cringe factor. Dun 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 dun.
Dun dun.
I gave it, I feel like this could have gone higher, but I gave it 1 icicle out of 5.
Same.
It was just really uncomfortable to see a 12-year-old making moves on his older babysitter. There were some situations, aside from him trying to make out with her, that were just very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I did not enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, like even in Violent Night, if I didn't enjoy something, I could understand like kind of the humor of it. This one, I didn't feel any humor at all. I just felt discomfort and like unease.
It was sick.
Yeah.
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 I also gave it an icicle because of all the like the blood and stuff. I'm like, I don't see the allure in it. I don't understand why it was necessary. Yeah. I mean, the paint can was like an okay touch, but like
that one actually made it worse for me.
That was really gross.
Yeah.
They lingered on it a little too long.
Yeah.
And then when they showed the actual scene, I was like,
I felt unwell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could have
cut
it short a bit, but yeah, the blood and guts, some things that happened,
very cringy,
gross. He's just overall sick, and like what's crazy and what's cringy is that he thought about it all, and he could have gotten away with it.
He could have. Ashley really thwarted his plan. The only thing that I say to make myself feel more comfortable is that like Jeremy was right-handed and the planting of the evidence was all in his left hand.
Yeah, that is true. You did mention that.
And so I was like, as a detective, I would have been like, especially if Ashley lived and was like saying that this 12-year-old boy did everything, I'd be like, okay, she definitely thinks this, so let's look back at this scene.
Well, part of me also thinks that even if she survived and everything, like, his parents would have made it to where he didn't get in trouble.
I definitely think so, too. I think more so she was like, I got out of the situation, and you don't get full satisfaction. That's how I felt like the ending of the movie was. You don't get full satisfaction that you won. Because I ended up winning in the end. Because the whole point was to basically kill Ashley and then have him get away with it. Because the whole point was, you leave, you die. And she was like, at the end, you never want it. I was never getting out of this. And he goes, no.
Yeah.
So she was going to die no matter what.
Yeah. And it's cringy that he had this, like, obsession with death forever. Like, he had killed Garrett's hamster.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it all started.
Yeah. On purpose, as he told Ashley.
Disgusting. Anyway, so that is Better Watch Out. You're better off without it.
Yeah. This gets an overall total, after we slashed the one icicle from our total, of 10 and a quarter candy canes out of 25. And so looking at our Krampus is coming to town category, we have we have Violent Night in first place with 17.38 candy canes out of 25. Again, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a lot of gore. Probably shouldn't watch it with kids, but it was a very entertaining movie.
Had a lot more depth.
A lot more cheer. Santa is, though he's fighting these bad guys, there's a lot more Christmas cheer in it. I know that's a little weird to say, but trust me when I say there's actually Christmas cheer in that movie. In second place is Krampus with 16.63 candy canes out of 25. This is our tamest movie in the category. It's a good, like, kids horror movie, but also be mindful of just kind of more of the content of, it's a kind of like an evil counterpart of Santa, so it might scare some kids, but there's no cursing, I don't think.
Yeah. If there is, then it's very few words.
There's no gore, thank goodness. So that puts it as the tamest one of the category.
Just creepy faces and characters.
And in third place, and thankfully not moving on, is Better Watch Out with 10 and a quarter candy canes. And in fourth place, again, thankfully not moving on, is Silent Night with 9.75 candy canes out of 25. So I'm glad to never watch those two movies again. And so Krampus and Violent Night are moving on to playoffs. So you guys get to see those again at the end of the year.
Yep.
And so that means we start a new category next time. We are looking at our category Carol of the Bells, which is our musical Christmas movies. And we're kicking it off with Mistletones. You can find that on Disney Plus, I believe. Let me double check that. Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. All right. Well, that is all. So I'm Amanda.
And I'm Adriana.
Have a holly jolly day. Bye.
Bye.